Hey folks, this is Paul with LiveForMoto.com, and today I want to talk to you about safety gear, what to wear, and why you wear it. Well everybody, I'm here to talk about safety equipment when it comes to riding motorcycles. And so many of us, we already know what kind of safety gear is out there, but if you're new to the sport, you're new to riding, no matter what your discipline, dirt bikes, street bikes, or something in between with adventure riding, then the whole safety gear might be a real mystery to you. And that's what I'm here to talk about today. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on the kind of the no-brainer stuff, so let's just talk real quick about what is available out there for safety gear. Well, the first thing that we all think about is a helmet, of course. But there's so much more to safety gear than just a helmet. You've got riding pants, coats, you've got gloves, riding boots, neck braces. There's so many things out there. How do you know what you need and what applies to you? Well, let's talk about that. First, let's talk about the most obvious thing, and let's talk about a helmet. A helmet is probably the front line of gear that we all think about. You know, it's the obvious thing. It's what gets all the publicity as a helmet. And helmets are absolutely critical. Why are they so critical? Well, the reason for it is because that's what protects the central processing unit of your entire body. That's the thing that protects your thinker. But what it all boils down to is you protect the parts you want to keep. And I personally like all my parts, so I'm going to try and keep those things. Helmets. There's modulars, there's full face, and by full face I mean something with a chin bar that comes all the way down around the front side. That's what I wear. There's the skid lids that we've all seen that are just basically like a little hard cap that sits right on top of your head. And then there's the dirt bike helmets, and they make them with screens and without screens, and venture helmets and everything else. But the real point and purpose behind a helmet is to protect your head. And the kind of riding that you're doing can influence quite a bit what kind of a helmet you would want to choose. You don't ever want to put yourself in the poorhouse, but I would encourage you always, no matter what kind of gear you're talking about, whether it's for your hands, feet, head, or the rest of your body, it's worth saving your money a little bit longer to get good gear, because good gear protects you in ways you can't imagine until you've put it to the test. And me, like many others, well, I've raced and I've put good gear to the test, so I can attest to how important it really is to have it. So the current helmet that I wear is made by Schuberth, and this is what you call a modular helmet. And I did a video a while back about various kinds of helmets, and I'm not going to go through them all now, but I'm just going to show you what I wear. And this is a Schuberth. It's called a modular helmet, and that's because the chin bar will rise up in and out of the way. And I really like a helmet like this because there's a lot of times that I don't want to go through the effort of pulling my helmet all the way off, but I want access to my face, whether it's to take a drink of something or to eat something real quick, or if I'm trying to talk to somebody that maybe doesn't have a comms unit in their helmet, then I don't have the obstruction of that chin bar blocking my voice. And so for a non-competition environment that sees both dirt and asphalt, I chose this helmet. And Schuberth is a high quality helmet. For those of you who are experienced riders, you already understand what I'm talking about. This helmet will run typically about $600. It's an expensive helmet. I didn't pay that for it. I got a pretty good deal on it because I found one on sale. But excellent helmet, and it's just one of many choices that are available out there. So look into your helmets, do a little research, and if you want to see something more on helmets, throw me a comment below and we'll talk more about helmets a little more in depth. Moving on, let's talk about gloves real quick. Gloves are something that really make a big difference you know, your hands are one of the first things that hit the ground when you crash. And so gloves are kind of a big deal. A lot of people kind of overlook that, but having a really good riding glove is important, and also having one comfortable. One of the things that I notice with gloves is that a lot of people will either buy them too small or too big. And when you do that, what ends up happening is you don't have full reach of your handle of your hands if you're going for a clutch lever or a brake leather, because you don't have the spread. The leather gets too tight in here. Another thing that's important, and a lot of people don't think about because this is something that's really come of age, is being able to have a glove that works with a touch screen. So many of these motorcycles nowadays have navigation, or they have touch screens on them, or people have mounts on their motorcycles where they can put their phones to, you know, accept or decline a call for the folks of us that have comms in our helmets. You don't think of a glove as needing something like that. But boy, I'll tell you what, for safety, it makes a big difference, because then you're not out there, and there's so many of us. I've been guilty of it. There's a lot of people that do it. There's a few angels, a few saints out there that don't get distracted by their phone. But how often do we look at something, or we just try to ignore it or something like that? Well, when you've got a gloved hand that doesn't respond to a touch screen, well, that can be a safety issue. If you're trying to fight it, then it's requiring more attention than you should be giving it. So gloves, big deal. Off-road gloves, on-road gloves, gauntlet gloves, short gloves. There's all kinds of gloves out there. A lot of it depends on what kind of riding you're doing. If you're riding dirt bikes and you're going to be putting in a serious physical effort, then generally you want something that's just going to be a rip, tear resistant fabric throughout the backside of the glove with a nice reinforced leather palm in it. For me, I wear something that's like a dual sport glove, and this gives me knuckle reinforcement. But if you look closely at that, you'll see right here, those are all vents that are inside that hard plate on there. And so that allows, and also between the fingers is all expandable fabric and allows a lot of airflow through this glove. So I've really enjoyed these gloves. And I have a set of winter gloves that are what they call gauntlet glove that comes all the way down your arm a little further. And that gives you more protection for where the wrist of your coat, your riding jacket, and your glove meet. That gauntlet glove will go over the riding coat and give you an additional protection, be it from wind, rain, or whatever else. Or if you bite the dust even and you're going into a slide where you're sliding against the ground this direction, the gauntlet glove is going to protect a little bit more of that jacket and prevent it from maybe peeling up your arm and exposing your skin to the asphalt as you slide. So gloves, big important thing. Don't skimp on those. Make sure they're comfortable. Make sure you've got full range of motion and that you don't have a bunch of wadded up extra material at the end of the fingers on your gloves, because if you do, that's another thing that can get in the way. If you have to go for that brake lever in a hurry, you could get a false grab on it if you've got a wad of glove under there and you don't get a good grab. So gloves, important deal, especially when you bite the dust. It's the first thing that hits the ground. Backside of your hand, palm of your hand, one way or another, your hands are going to be on the ground. You want good gloves. Let's talk about riding suits for a minute. There are so many different kinds out there. There's textile suits, there's leather suits, there's one piece, there's two piece, there's a dozen different kinds. What's the best kind to get? Well, again, it kind of depends on what makes you the most comfortable in your riding situation and what are you doing with it. In my road racing days, I wore nothing but a full one-piece leather suit. And that was the standard by which most people, unless they were there for a track day, used. In fact, most of your racing rules, whether you were in California with the AFM or the Masters of the Mountains in Utah or whatever part of the country you came from, people used one-piece leather suits. It was in the rules of the racing organization. But if you're not subject to racing organization rules, well then what do you choose? Well, what surface are you going to be riding on the most? And how is that going to affect your body when you crash? Well, let's think about that. You see, a leather suit has got a lot of abrasion resistance, which means that a lot of times, and I don't have my leather suit here in North Dakota with me to show you. If I was home in Colorado, I could show you what my racing suit looked like. But I've crashed 2 times in it, and it's still got good thick leather on it. I could probably crash some more in it. I'm going to try not to do that. But leather is really durable, and it's made for sliding. It's high abrasion resistance if you're going really fast and you're sliding across the ground. So if you're doing a lot of asphalt, high-speed mountain roads, things like that, where you're going to be exposed to the potentials of road rash being your biggest threat, then I would say you definitely want to go with a leather suit. And then they also make one-piece and two-piece suits. Well, certainly a two-piece suit is going to be a lot more comfortable if you're a weekend rider. You can take the jacket off on the upper half, cool off a little bit when you stop for lunch, that sort of thing. If you're wearing a one-piece suit, then you just don't have the ability to at least maintain decency in a public place and remove that suit and be comfortable. So if you're a weekend rider, I highly recommend a two-piece suit. They make a two-piece suit with a full zip around where the pants zip to the jacket. They also make just a partial zip around, and I wear a textile that's a partial zip. So you don't always have to have the full circumference, but the more likely you feel like you are to having a wreck, are you riding aggressive, are you riding fast? I would definitely opt to go with something that is going to provide more protection as opposed to less. Now, whether you're talking about a leather suit or a textile suit, one piece or two piece, most of your riding suits today offer protection underneath. It's something that a lot of times you can't see from the outside, but they have these rigid cups built in over your shoulders and your elbows and across your back and across your hind end and your hips and your knees, and all of that protection is put there. All of that padding is made to absorb impact. So if you go tumbling across the ground, then it will do less damage. It prevents things like chipping bones and joints and things like that. It will help quite a bit, because what it does is that as you make an impact on a particular part of your body, let's just say that that's an elbow, as opposed to just having that elbow hit really hard right on the asphalt, what that does is it kind of cups your elbow, and then when your elbow makes impact with the ground, you have this whole surface area absorbing the impact over your elbow, as opposed to just being hit hard right on that point. So I'm going to show you real quick on my suit just a couple of the reinforced padding that's in there, so you guys kind of have an idea what you're going to be looking for when you go shopping for a suit. Okay, well, this is my riding jacket, and what you're looking at here is some of the reinforcement that goes into your back, and it sits right in the middle of your back from about here down to about where your tailbone is. And this is just, it's impact resistant, same stuff. It's going to disperse the impact if you hit the ground and slide on your back. In this jacket also, there's cups in the shoulders, and I know the lighting isn't great, so it might be kind of hard to see that, but inside there is a shoulder cup, and that fits right here over your shoulder, and that again is made for absorbing impact. It's got that on both sides. Without tearing down the entire jacket, in the elbow you have the same thing, and that protection plate runs from almost the wrist clear up to the back side of your shoulder. So if you were to see that exposed, that would be from about this point here all the way down to about right here is where that pad exists inside that suit. So when you buy a suit, you want to make sure that the jacket fits you as good as possible, because that's what's going to keep all of that reinforcement in place, and in the event that you have a wreck, that's your protection. Okay, and so now on my riding pants, now I was telling you about the zip togethers. My jacket and my pants do zip together, and if you can see right here, there's that panel with a zipper in it. There's the other half of that is sewn into the inside of that jacket, and it zips the two together, and that's so that you don't get your garment spreading apart if you spend some time sliding across the asphalt. So on the pants, you're going to have that reinforcement is going to be inside of your knees. It'll be the same thing. It'll have a cup in it, just like it was for your elbow that goes from one end to the other. It's going to cup your knee and give you reinforcement there. In addition to that, you've got reinforced padding inside the hips. Now right now I've got these panels open for the ventilation because it's summertime and it's warm out, but that's probably a 3/4 inch thick impact absorbent pad that's on each hip there. And so for those of you who've crashed or familiar, have watched racing or whatever, you know when you go down, I mean, your hands hit, your butt hits, your hips hit. Those are all like your major points. You're either going down on elbows and knees, or you're going down on your butt and your back. And so all of that padding, especially in an event where you maybe slide for a little bit, but then you catch some traction or the surface changes and you start to tumble, that padding makes a huge difference in protecting your body. And another thing that's major important is a good pair of riding boots. They make riding boots in all different disciplines as well. You've got dirt motorcycle boots, you've got asphalt riding boots, you've got touring boots, you've got everything in between. And so again, it can be a little confusing and a little daunting when you start deciding, well, what kind of a motorcycle boot do I need? And again, it boils down to what kind of riding are you going to do? This is what you would call an adventure boot. And I bought this. This kind of riding is relatively new to me, but this is like a really comfortable dirt boot. Maybe you'd call it like a sissy dirt boot to some extent. I can spend all day in this. It feels like a slipper. It does not offer as much rigid support laterally this way as a dirt bike boot would, nor does it offer it this way that a dirt bike boot would, but it offers a lot more, say, than a street boot would. It travels high to the top and is waterproof to this point right here. So it gives me the ability to do water crossings. I can ride through streams and rivers. It gives me a lot more support than just a regular riding boot, yet it's still comfortable to be in all day. However, if you're gonna find yourself on a sport bike, say, where you're always in a really tight, crouched, nose in front of your toes, racing position, this is not the boot you want to wear. You're going to want to wear something that's oriented more towards that style of riding and gives a lot more flexibility this way, because the reality is that on that kind of a bike, this is the position that you're going to have. Well, as you can see, I gotta push into it a little bit to achieve that with this boot. This boot is better off for a more upright riding position and offers a lot more stability through that ankle and foot area in the event that I have to put my foot down through a turn or something like that. It's not as solid as a dirt boot, and a dirt boot, those suckers are rigid, but the protection that they offer is unmatched. There isn't a boot out there that's going to give you as much protection as what a dirt riding boot will. So there's a lot of other gear out there, folks, that I don't have here to show you, but the reinforced, the padding and stuff that I've showed you for back protectors and shoulders and elbows and knees and hips, they make suits that are just breathable mesh that have only that stuff in them. And they're made to go underneath another riding suit. So maybe you've bought a riding jacket that doesn't already have that in it, or maybe you feel like you don't like what's in it and you want to beef it up and have a little better reinforcement in there. And so they make a lot of that kind of, I'm going to call it Under Armour, though I'm not referring to the company Under Armour, but Under Armour in the sense that it goes under a different style suit and provides you protection. They also make that stuff for the exterior too, and if you've ever seen a dirt bike rider, you know they're wearing that big hard plastic chest plate, and those chest protectors are for protecting you from rocks and sticks and stuff coming off of trails, off of other riders' tires. And so there's a lot of external safety equipment that you can wear as well. I don't have it here to show it to you today, but I want to make this video just to say to you that as you think about safety and you think about the gear that you may or may not need, the thing that I'd like to emphasize to you is to really consider what kind of riding are you planning on doing. And then you want to structure your safety gear around that kind of riding. There's a lot available for what we'd call those fence folks, and I tend to be one of those at this point. I came from a road racing background, and so I do asphalt, but I also do dirt now, and I go, geez, which way do I go? Well, it's called the adventure world or the dual sport world, and there's a lot available for people like us out there. The dirt markets have been around forever, and there's a lot of really good, inexpensive, quality gear out there to be had for it, and the same on the street side. There's a lot of crotch rockets, even Harley gear. There's a lot of that stuff is available right now, and you can get good gear for pretty cheap. But one of the things that's just in development stages is for that dual sport world. Most of the time you'll find that guys tend to lean more towards the dirt riding side when it comes to their gear, and it's because it offers a little bit more protection than what some of the softer touring gear has. So folks, when it comes to riding gear, that stuff that looks cool, that's really colorful, or it's just solid black leather or whatever it is, bear in mind that regardless of how it looks, you need to look deeper and see what kind of protection does it offer to you. Is it going to give you what you need in the event that you crash, or are you gambling your life on the possibility or the assumption that you're not going to go down? See, I spent a lot of years around racing, and there was a saying around racing that said there's only two kinds of riders. There's those who have been down and those who are going to go down. So which one are you? And I would think about that when you start thinking about what kind of gear you're going to buy. Folks, thanks for listening in on my spiel about safety here. Something I have never mentioned in any of my other videos. If you look down in the comment section below here, you'll see that I've posted links to all kinds of stuff in there. And a lot of the stuff that I have posted in there is for the safety gear that I wear. I only post links to the things that I've used and tested myself and that I felt like were a good recommendation to people. So if you have any interest in any of the gear that I use, take a look down there in the comments and see if there isn't something useful for you. If there isn't, leave me a comment, and maybe I've used it and just haven't haven't remembered to put a link to something that I use in there, let me know. As always, I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much for doing so. I've got some rides coming up that are going to be a lot of fun. And if you like the videos, if you're liking what you're seeing, please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button below, and then hit the little bell that's right next to it, and that'll give you an alert whenever I post a new video, and you'll be able to get in there and see that. I always appreciate a thumbs up, and I like a comment even better. I like to know what you guys are thinking. Thank you so much for watching, folks. So have fun riding, stay safe, and keep the rubber side down. We'll see you next time.